I'm here at Villa Park, the home of Aston Villa Football Club, and you may ask, why are we here? Well, last summer they ripped out their old PAL standard def TV systems that they had here, and they're putting some nice HD systems with the help of Blackmagic. I sat Nick Finney down, who's involved in the whole of the installation, to have a little chat with him, and he explained what went on.
My sort of primary role at the club is to take in all the various feeds that we have in and around a match day, bring them all in, then distribute them around the ground. So all the hospitality TVs, which we operate an IPTV system, all the big screens we've got in stadium. We've also got LED boards inside and outside the stadium. So we've got rotating screens in the car park, as well as a scoreboard and 2 big video screens in the stadium. So essentially sort of bringing all that together on a match day, and also all throughout the week we have, you know, extensive hospitality sort of venues which we hire out all through the week. So yeah, we do quite a lot of non-match specific stuff through the week as well. So it's just essentially tying all that in, running all that on a daily basis. Previously, before the Blackmagic install that we put in the summer just gone, some of the cabling and some of the equipment dated back to the dark ages pretty much. We had a lot of cabling that we knew where it started and where it ended, but had no idea where it went in between. And we also relocated. We had various little control areas for independent things, and it was really bitty and didn't really work. There was an area that we were having to use up on the gantry, so you know, Saturday night when we're playing our TV block out, there was nobody except for you in an empty stadium, which wasn't great. So we basically wanted just to try and to bring all that in into a more up-to-date digital workflow. Because again, we were still working with VT, so it was harder for us to bring things in at the last minute. And all the equipment that we were using specifically for match day was leased as well, so financially it wasn't really making sense. Well, the main sort of change now is the fact that everything is in one place. And again, with purely logistically and with the size of the equipment that we used to have, that just wasn't possible for us to, with the space that we've got, we just couldn't do it previously. So now everything's seated centrally. We've got fibre running to various points. We've got a camera pitch side, camera up on the gantry, and we also obviously take the OB feeds in via HD-SDI from the OB park. So essentially all that's now tunnelled into to the one room, so we can control everything. So we not only run the matchday screens and everything else, we also run our internal IPTV system from the same room. And we also put together our international TV block, which goes out to the broadcasters. The fibre runs that we decided to put in, previously it was cabled, and we looked at potentially doing SDI, but with the costs involved in over the distances that we were travelling, fibre just seemed to make a lot more sense to us. We also, whilst pulling the fibres through, dropped through a few spares as well, just for a bit of headroom and expansion. When it came to actually installing the fibres, we found the process to be relatively straightforward. I mean, to certain areas we already had existing cable runs, obviously with the Sky infrastructure that's already in, and Sky again ran fibres for their 3D install, because we're one of the stadiums that are set up now for 3D games. So again, the company we used to run the fibre knew the stadium quite well, and cost-wise, you know, it seemed pretty cost-effective for us to do that. We did have a few issues with the ground being the way it is, because some of our stands are standalone, so the runs to get from one place to the other aren't necessarily that easy, purely because of the age of some of the stands. But to be honest, again, with the sort of thickness of fibre that you're dealing with, it's not the same as having to pull through a multi-core of you know, essentially to be used for SDI. So we found it quite a relatively straightforward process. Currently, obviously we take in an HD-SDI feed from the OB, but all our IPTV system is still SD. So looking forward to obviously trying to eventually bring everything up to HD. We need to bring some HD ingest blades in for us to be able to do that. But obviously now we've got the fibre sort of connectivity between the various areas. It shouldn't really be too much trouble to actually sort of get in between those areas. Whereas again, previously, with the distances involved, it wouldn't have been great trying to get HD signals down those runs. Aside from the OB feed and other feeds that we've got coming in on match day, we have, for example, the pitch side camera which comes in. So all the stuff pre-match and at half time, we've got a guy pitch side who presents the camera essentially. We've got an HD-SDI feed going from the camera straight into the Blackmagic camera converter, which is then in turn fed back to the studio converter via fibre into our studio. That then in turn is switched into our video hub, which gives us, you know, the flexibility to put any of our feeds anywhere, and then in turn that also ends up on our production switcher. And then ultimately the output is controlled either via the actual ATEM panel or the software interface that we use for our other output. The install we put in the summer is pretty much made up of, you know, a lot of Blackmagic equipment, and the ease of which it is to integrate and also to use, it's pretty much made the whole thing quite pain-free, and the scale of things that we were doing and pulling in, there was a possibility of it turning into, you know, quite an awkward install. But most of the stuff that we've used, particularly Blackmagic stuff, just seems to work. It all, you know, works quite well with each other. People coming in on a match day, so we have different freelancers coming in, broadcast engineers. They all know how to use it. There's no real training involved. Anybody who's used a vision mixer can use the panel. The software side's, you know, self-explanatory, and we haven't had any real issues with any of the equipment. The support has been great when we've needed to speak to anybody at Blackmagic. Everything as it stands now is just working.